Jahmyr Gibbs, they had a different level of energy, and they controlled the game. And, I mean, they're deep, and they're talented. And Jahmyr Gibbs, remember when he was picked in the first round, and everybody's like, you can't pick a running back then. I mean, Tampa's fun. They're feisty. They've got experience. They're exciting. And Baker Mayfield's a perfect fit. But that roulette style of football does not work long term. They had 58 total yards in the first half, and were lucky to be in the game midway through the second quarter. And here's the thing about Detroit. Between their talent, Brad Holmes upstairs, a great GM, and Dan Campbell's Ted Lasso positivity. Let's be honest, Dan Campbell is Ted Lasso if Ted Lasso benched about 375 pounds. And between that talent and Dan Campbell, they are a monster at home. They should organizationally request a Super Bowl there, cross their fingers they get in. Baker Mayfield was fighting uphill all night long. And here's the thing. The secondary for the Lions has been banged up, it seems like, for years. They lost both coordinators, and yet Baker Mayfield was the most uncomfortable he had been all season long. He looked cooked. 0 for 9 throwing the ball down the field, and that's what Baker has lived on, and coming from behind is what Baker has lived on, and they didn't like the calls they got, and Detroit's defensive line dominated Tampa up front. Lions are now number 2 in the NFL in point differential. Unbelievable, 3-0 at home. And once again, Dan Campbell's culture building, Ted Lasso with biceps energy on display on Monday Night Football, where they've won 5 straight standalone games. Here's Dan Campbell after.
We got a special group. We got a special group of coaches and players. And I just think they're competitive. They want to win. They're able to really focus on what needs to be fixed. Don't lose confidence. Just fix it. And I think that's where our guys are really special, man. We just go to work. We fix it. They've always been that way. And then the lights come on, man, and guys show up.
Yeah. The Lions just got to get healthy, man. They got to get that defense full strength healthy. This was an awesome game, which is interesting because it was only 24-9. And I talked about this in my post game. The Lions are just so fun to watch because they just care, which is why it was so hard to watch the game against Kansas City Chiefs, honestly. This is a perfect example. Anyone who watched that game and anyone has criticism, it's not a battle like, oh, well, you shouldn't have called this down or you dropped the pass here. It was actually just like, look at the intensity. Look at the effort that's put in, and we saw that to the maximal degree on Monday night. And again, as someone who obviously loves football and talking to people who love football, it's just a great product. And the fans, it was just the energy was just through the roof, which is why then it was also frustrating, as Colin even kind of said, that he looked at it more from Baker's lens, where he was like, Baker was even lucky to even that the Bucs were even remotely in this game. And that's the thing, they shouldn't have been. This game should have been put away. It's actually kind of interesting. Both the Lions and the Seahawks last night, the scores should have been miles apart. It should have been not even remotely possible. It should have been a game where most people are just like, all right, this game's over, and they're turning it off, honestly. But the Lions left the door open a little bit. And again, as I made the joke yesterday, they left the door open, but then they slammed it shut on them. But they did leave the door open. And I'll talk about Baker Mayfield later. I'll focus more on the Detroit Lions for this clip, and I'll talk more about Baker and the Bucs for first things first. And I will defend Baker Mayfield. I will, honestly. But I do think, though, it is an important point with the Detroit Lions to point out, though, that this game was a great game for them. And, what they did was awesome. And Gibbs was an absolute monster, a legitimate, absolute monster. But I do think we got to recognize that there were moments that Gibbs, first off, bailed this team out. I'm always aware of when players bail the team out, because if you're constantly relying on that, it's tough. it's a tough existence. I referenced that with Jalen Hurts this past weekend. And so you always want to feel that the offense is working within structure. The one, I forget, was it a third down call? No, the fourth down call. That was going to be stopped. That was all Gibbs. All Gibbs. Any other, honestly, any other running backs getting stopped, now you turn the ball over. And the 4th and 2, they didn't go for it. Or they did go for it, they didn't get it, and it's just like kick the field goal, go up 10-0. Some of those little things still stand out to me because I think they're important. And again, this defense is obviously not healthy, and the defense played awesome. Troy Aikman, I think, did a great job of just praising the defense and talking about it again and again and again and again. And they deserve heaps and heaps and heaps of praise. Baker Mayfield also played really bad. He played really poorly. I'm not trolling. He's not normally that bad. He missed a lot of throws. And so there were throws for him to make. There were points on the board. And so, again, that's why I'm not going to judge the Detroit Lions defense harshly by any stretch of the imagination, because they did play great. And they are obviously not fully healthy. But this game could have been closer than it was. And so when you're having those types of moments, you just want to be able to see the Lions really be able to slam the door shut and not even have them even remotely in. Because if Baker was just half as accurate as he has been, honestly, then the score really does change. And the Lions were clearly the better team, and clearly the more prepared team, and clearly the more resilient team, right? Like, that's indisputable. But I still think it's important when watching a game like this to unpack it, just like I did when the Lions lost to the Chiefs, and was like, hey, listen, if you convert that one touchdown and Amon-Ra St. Brown catches that, I think it was like 4th and 2 or whatever, that he catches 99 out of 100 times, that fundamentally changes that game as well. And there were moments here that fundamentally could have changed this game, but it didn't go, it went in the Lions' favor and not in the Bucs' favor. Again, that still doesn't take away anything that the Lions had going for them. The interception, right? It was a bad throw, that kind of put the receiver in like an awkward spot. And then to have him rip it out was just, it was just awesome. And the Robertson punch fumble, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, the defense came to play. They were in attack mode. The tackling was awesome. They really only kind of got hurt and burned on like the one screen pass that ended up being the one touchdown for Baker. That it was like, it was a pretty pretty basic kind of like screen pass, like a yard or two behind the line of scrimmage, and then that went for like 20 yards. It was a good play by the wide receiver as well, good run after catch. But like outside of that, that was the only time they kind of got burned in like in a tackling situation, because I thought the tackling was great and really closed out on any of those short passes and whatnot, or anytime a running back kind of had the ball in space for a second, it collapsed on them instantly. And so the energy and effort was through the roof, and like I said, really exciting to watch. But listen, you hold Baker 9 for 16, 47 yards, an interception at half, and they crossed midfield once. And that was because of the interception. And it's just like the game, I expect the Lions arguably have the most talented offensive roster. When you look at the O-line, quarterback, multiple running backs, receiving core, tight ends, they're flush with talent. If your defense is able to give you that performance, I just expect the points to be piled on, absolutely piled on. And then we heard throughout the broadcast, Aikman was like, man, this game, if you saw, these things, like when he was going over like, the Bucs miscues and whatnot, you would be like, this game should be out of reach. This should be a 3-score game, or even beyond. And it wasn't. So, again, nitpicking obviously, but still things that I think are worth discussing, because the Lions have a real chance here. They have a real chance here, and you just want to see them be able to continue to take care of business. I think they still show their level of dominance and what their peak can be, but weirdly enough, their floor has gotten lower in any given moment for me. And again, it could be injury related, could be still just the coaching staff kind of getting reintegrated into this, into this season. But right now, it's like, to me, the ceiling, the insanity and dominance and just the suffocating nature of the Detroit Lions, who they've been over these last couple of years, is still on full display, full on, on full display, but the floor is slightly lower than I feel as though that it was in years past. And so, which is why I think we get a game like this. I think if this was last year, the score is not 24-9. I think the score is like 42-6 or something, 42-3, 42-6. I really do believe that. And so I just, you want to see them see if they can elevate the floor a little bit more throughout the course of this season, because it matters. It matters, especially once it's win or go home in the playoffs. And obviously, when you're looking at the Detroit Lions, you're looking at it through that lens. But this was a really incredibly important game, and turn the page. And I think there will continue to be brighter times ahead for the Detroit Lions. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Lions? Show up for me, Detroit Lions fans. You guys have been awesome. Please do not forget to subscribe. As I keep saying, we are building an absolutely amazing community here, and Lions fans have risen up, man. You guys have been absolutely awesome. When you guys watch the full length of the video, and just everything goes through the roof. Subscribers go through the roof, views go through the roof, and we can really start to build something truly, truly special here that is really rooted in the sports talk world. And so we can keep making the best Detroit Lions content out there, the best NFL content out there. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.